Welcome back to another episode of Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. And if you're a subscriber, thanks so much for subscribing. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that little bell and subscribe. If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Add any comments or questions or thoughts in the comment section. Would love to hear your feedback and maybe even some topics that you'd like to discuss within Asset Coach and Tax Strategist, our content in our world. So we've been hearing a lot about cryptocurrency. I've been hearing a lot about gold and de-dollarization and Bitcoin and right with all this like noise, and it just seems like it's coming from everywhere. And so one of the things that we went through was our series of Economic Termites, the book I wrote, Farming Assets, the other book I wrote, and kind of walk through some different assets, different what we consider economic termites, taxes, inflation, time, laws, and regulations. Are the four major termites. And so, what I thought I could do today is that there is an article that came out, and it's kind of been floating in all these different websites now regarding geologists finding more gold. And I think this is so valuable and important because this conversation about the de-dollarization and BRICS, that whole group is looking at bringing the gold standard kind of back to the equation. And it's kind of this axis of evil, right? Except for a few couple countries that are allies of ours. But it's kind of like all these outliers, China, Russia, Iran, right? All these guys want to get together and de-dollarize the world economy because the US weaponizes the dollar. Well, all these folks are bad actors, and I'm not saying that we're squeaky clean as the United States. So please don't misunderstand me. I don't have those goggles on. But at the end of the day, you do need to have a standardized currency to base everything as a benchmark of what's compared to keep everything consistent if you want this world economy. Now, the world economy exists because of us. Let's just be honest with you. This isn't arrogance. This is fact. This is reality. We as Americans are consumers, and we consume. And our consumerism is what drives the world economy. We want fruits and vegetables year round. So instead of just waiting for California and Florida to grow fruits and vegetables for us, which they can't do year round, we get fruits and vegetables from where? Other countries. And we have treaties and pacts and trading agreements back and forth to drive their economy, that they hire people and they staff people and they have businesses and creates revenue for the country and the individuals, blah 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 blah. It's my conversation I've been talking about with China this whole time, is that the only reason why there are quote unquote powers is because of us. Our consumerism. We want goods and services at a lower rate. We're trying to keep goods and services priced based on not allowing inflation to drive those costs higher and higher. Or we do all that stuff here in the US and say, forget it. Forget all of you. Build up these these invisible borders and tell everyone to go piss off, right? We don't do that. We create all these treaties, we create all these agreements. We want, yes, selfishly, because we want to consume, we want goods that are less, but also it helps, our selfishness helps other countries. Let's just be real about this, okay? But when we go back to the gold and we go back to the de-dollarization, it also brings in this conversation of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin as a commodity, as an asset class. And then you got to look at this supply and demand. And here's been the big problem about gold and a lot of precious metals. They're controlled by the people who mine it. Okay, no different than oil. Right? You look at all oil; they want the price of barrels of oil in this range, right? $60 to $80. If it's higher than $80, then it causes some issues. If it's lower than $60, then it causes some issues. But this is the sweet spot, 60 to 80. Right? That's my reference from Landman. Thank you, Monty. But anyways, the reality is that it makes sense, and producers produce and consumers consume, and the producers produce enough for the consumers to continue to consume to stay within that range. Okay, and gold is the same way. So it's a precious metal because it has historically always been, right. And we have some use cases for it and stuff. But when all of a sudden you see more gold, it increases the potential of supply, which means the demand is manipulated by the production of gold. Hello. And so when we're looking at and I think this is the big argument that people have about, well, the US getting off the gold standard and using interest rates and the Fed and all this kind of stuff. Well, how's it any different than gold? If we're controlling how it's mined and the frequency and the amount it's mined, which controls the price, supply and demand. Same thing with diamonds, right? So it's how can you stand there and have that argument? Okay, and I'm not saying gold's bad or anything like that. I'm just making a point, right? This is my opinion. It's my channel, so I can make my opinion. But when you look at Bitcoin as an example, as an asset in this conversation, that there's going to be a maximum 21 million. Period. That's a maximum. That's it. Zero, zip, no more. Now, could there be another asset class that is created in crypto that mirrors Bitcoin? Of course. Absolutely. And that's what a lot of these cryptocurrencies are doing, creating use cases based off of Bitcoin. But to have this argument about Bitcoin being an asset class, gold being more precious, and right, and Michael Saylor has made a great point. Is how often do you see people carting around gold? Right, you can't. There's no use case. Sure, we use some gold and technology and some of the goods and services besides jewelry, but the reality is, you don't see people carting around gold as a transfer of. That's why we created paper money, fiat money, right? That's why we're going to digital. So we don't have to carry the heavy paper money and those darn pesky coins, right? Have you ever looked up and Googled how much it costs to produce pennies? Right? It's a losing proposition. So it makes sense when you look at the business of production and the business of creating these things that when you start transferring. Now, here's the difference between what I like about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin versus gold is that yes, the supply is controlled. It's a finite amount. Gold is really infinite. We don't know. We haven't mined the entire earth. It's hence this article that I'm going to share with you regarding geologists finding a new vein of gold. Geologists might have stumbled upon the largest gold mine in the world. This is December 4th, 2024. Okay. And this article is being all, geez Louise, good housekeeping. This is from Popular Mechanics right now, but Good Housekeeping has this article, same article. A super giant gold ore deposit under an existing gold mine in China could be the world's largest gold ore deposit. Well, that's great in China. That's awesome. That helps us out, doesn't it? Oh boy. That's fantastic. But it somewhat does because if we make gold worthless, which this has been a point of conversation as well that I actually find it pretty creative, is the U.S. just sell all of its gold, get rid of it, make it completely worthless, and buy a bunch of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and these asset classes as the core currency, right? I don't know. We are already the world producer in oil. Why not? Why not in digital oil, which would be Bitcoin? So officials estimate that the extent of the fine could be 1.1 1,100 tons, stretching as deep as 9,800 feet below the surface. And find also shows promise that as that of the high quality producer of gold. Let's see here. China isn't just giant; it's super giant. So much so, in fact, that Chinese experts claim it could be the largest deposit of any precious metal, not just gold. Now, again, this is coming from Chinese, right? Do we trust that? Right? I mean, at the end of the day, they manipulate their currency. So do we as the U.S. That's what the Federal Reserve and interest rates are all about. By the way, hello. Just because we're the dominant or the dollar is the standard, you can't say that ours isn't manipulated. That's what interest rates are, right? That's what printing money does, and control of inflation, right? But I think there's a different terminology of Chinese manipulation versus ours, right? Because we don't like them is probably the difference. And again, I'm not saying I'm a Chinese lover or a Russian lover or anything like this. I mean, at the end of the day, is since 2020, I kind of question most of everything now. And so anytime I see this, it's like, okay, well, whose point of view am I looking at this and translating and reading this from? Mine, Chinese, the Russians, Americans, right? The guy on the street, the producers of the miners, or who am I reading this article from? Whose viewpoint? According to Chinese state media, very reliable, like the U.S. media, very, very reliable, a team of geologists detected over 40 gold veins in roughly 330 tons of gold, or dipping 6,600 feet under Pingzhang County's Wanggu goldfield. 3D modeling blows that the number out of the water, showing that there could be as much as 1,100 tons. We go through this. Now, that makes this the new find, that the largest gold mine in the world, even outpacing South Africa's South Deep gold mine. Oh, hang on a second. Who's part of BRICS? Oh, South Africa. And what's BRICS talking about doing? Oh, making gold the standard in the de-dollarization. Oh, I see. It's not because the US is weaponizing the dollar. Could this actually be because they control the production of, oh, gold? Excuse the dripping sarcasm, but to my point, shut the up, right? At the end of the day, everybody's trying to jockey. But big bad America, you say I can't create nuclear weapons. Well, no crap. You're a bunch of idiots and you're running around and trying to just kill people for whatever reason. Now, I don't even know if that's true because we only hear what we hear on the media. I've never been to Iran. I've never been to Syria, right? I don't know what's going on. So I'm not saying I'm keeping my eyes closed and I'm walking around just ignoring out all information, but like I said, I'm questioning everything now. I don't know what's real and what's not. Sadly enough, that the trust has gone bye-bye. And when you start losing the trust, you start really losing the people. Okay. But look at Indonesia, Russia, New Guinea, Chile, around the top 5 gold mines in the world, who are all part of the BRICS. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Good to know. But at the end of the day, this is all minerals. These are all minerals that are where? In the earth, that actually can be what? Produced. So supply increases, which controls the value. Huh. All right. So I don't know. Again, this episode is just really more to just give me an opportunity to be sarcastic. Just kidding. But the reality is that should I question all this stuff? Absolutely, I should. Should you? Absolutely, you should. Does this mean that, oh, we should have Bitcoin as the country's reserve? No, maybe not. But who says you have to have one form of reserve? I don't know. Um, what creates the value of gold? I think a lot of it's just more is sense fear mongering, because most people who hold gold probably don't actually hold gold. It's just held in a piece of paper or a statement that says I have gold. Oh, isn't that kind of what Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is? Huh. Well, but this producer of gold, or this exchange of gold, I trust them. Okay, good for you. Doesn't mean it's more real, less valuable, right? So at the end of the day, I just want to kind of raise this question because there's just a lot of noise and there is no answer here. It's just more of, I think this is a great conversation. I think there should be a dual reserve structure. I do think it actually make a lot of sense to combine the reserves of gold and Bitcoin as a national reserve to help control the value of the dollar, to control the government spending and the printing and the Federal Reserve, right? What do we have in place to control them for going out of control? I don't know. But here's the interesting thing. I want you to hang out and be on the lookout for my next episode. My next episode, we're going to talk about what is this national debt we all keep talking about. And I found this great visual that talks about who owns US debt. Oh, it's phenomenal. Raises so many questions as to what we keep hearing and the rhetoric we keep hearing. Again, all I'm doing is just raising questions and helping you think for yourself. But check out my next episode that's talking about that. But in this episode, thank you so much for joining me. Again, this was not creating any answers, probably created more questions, but hopefully drop those questions down in the comments and give me some of your feedback. Let's chat about what's next? What are your thoughts? What's this mean for us, right? As consumers, as US citizens, as worldians, right? Earthians, right? Earthites, whatever you want to call us, right? Because we're all here together, right? We're all jockeying to control the borders that we have and what's ours and what's not yours and all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, we're still here. And remember, this is not our final destination. This is not our final destination. We are just visitors here for a period of time for us to hopefully attain our final destination and reach that destination. And so at the end of the day, thank you so much for listening and participating, being the subscriber if you're a subscriber. If not, go ahead and click that little bell, subscribe, and be on the lookout for my next episode talking about the national debt. And then after that one, we'll talk more about California, bash California some more. I can't wait. Anyways, make it a blessed one. Happy New Year, depending on when you're seeing this. Bye bye.